Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So I need to do something like this.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Moderately Successful Podcast, where my co-host and I, we understand that not everybody necessarily wants to live the life of a one percenter, and success is scalable in a lot of ways. And we're here to dive into the lives of the other 99% to see how they're living life on their terms. My name is Matt Campbell, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Chris Chan and Austin Rogers. What's up, dudes?
What up?
Another podcast, another day. We're switching things up today. It is the morning, so we don't have the whiskey flowing, although
it is 5 p.m. somewhere. Yeah.
It
Coffee's
is 5
rolling,
p.m.,
at
I
least.
know.
Yeah.
Coffee is rolling. Caffeine is high right now. But we are in the morning, and that's because we have a guest that has made some time for us today, and I got a little introduction prepared. I did some research.
Let's hear it.
All right. Okay, so first and foremost, thank you for being on in the morning. I know you got a tight schedule, but he's a former Wall Street bond trader, spending 20 years in the trade game. Plus, he's got some game on the athletic front as a former baller on the basketball courts of St. Michael's College. And from what I've heard on other podcasts, had some opportunities in the European leagues.
Correct.
All right. He now owns Success Lift, where he coaches up high-performing professionals who have achieved success but have lost sight of their physical, mental, emotional, and relational health along the way. Brian Pannuzzo, everybody.
What's
Thanks
up,
for being
boys?
on, man.
Welcome.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me, man.
Man.
This is exciting. Well, let's moderately successful. Let's get a little bit more than moderately successful. No, I'm kidding.
Well, trying to show the trajectory of like where we personally are at, and hopefully this becomes the very successful podcast.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, we call it moderately successful because it's like not everybody necessarily wants to live the life of like Jeff Bezos, you know, like the day-to-day. And it's like, okay, maybe I only want to make, and I know financial terms is such a surface level,
Sure.
version of success, but it's like maybe my version of success is $500,000 a year, and I work 20 hours a week, and I have time with my family and stuff. So that's where the whole premise of it comes from, and just finding people that are living that.
I love that. And obviously I was kidding. And, I lived the life, previously, and we'll dig into this a bit of feeling like I had one route, one result, one definition of success. And now I'm in this different stage of my life, the second mountain that I'm climbing in my old age, in my 40s, of viewing success as something completely different, as a husband, a father, as now an entrepreneur. And so, yeah, I love that. I think too many people get caught up with what they feel others think success should look like for them. And success is what you want to do, how you want to live your life, what you need. We're in a different area of the country than I live in right now. And people probably have, different needs, and you can live a pretty comfortable life here versus maybe somewhere like New York City, where, the area I'm from, New York City, New Jersey, or LA, where I live now. And it's pretty enticing, boys.
Where are you at currently then? So what is your definition of success at this very moment?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, I'm in a stage of my life where I had this 20-year corporate career, chased a lot of professional and financial success, I say at a cost, right? My body was broken down. I was overweight. My marriage was on the brink of divorce. I was a professional but functional drug, gambling, and alcohol addict. Couldn't have a tough Tuesday without, taking down a bottle of wine and a couple of gummies. And, realized that success, financial and professional success that I created, came at a lot of costs. And I say, I woke up in air quotes to like my wife being like, dude, this is not what I signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found myself, I'm in an interesting evolution. I've been talking about this a lot too. Now that I'm out of that world, out of that life, that I, have saved my marriage and transformed my body and my mindset and my relationships and my addictions, I found myself going completely to the opposite end of the spectrum, where I was like, I actually spoke these words: in this new life of mine, if I can just tread water financially for the next 10 years. I'm 45 now. This was 4 to 5 years ago. So I'm just turning 40, leaving Wall Street. By no means can shut it down for the rest of my life and not ever make a dollar, but I had enough money to transition, right? And so I said to myself, like, and out loud to people, if I just want to be a Superman dad, I want to be the best husband my wife has ever met, the best man my wife has ever met, the best partner. have the most connected marriage I possibly could. I want to be this leader to people that I work for. I want to help people. And the cost of that in my head was, well, I can't have the same financial success that I had on Wall Street, because that means that I have to give up something. And so for the first few years of me building my business, what do you think I got? I look great. I feel great. I'm super connected to my family. I'm an influencer in my community, my small community, whether it be, in person, the people I work with, the people that pay attention to me, social media, email list, whatever. But I sort of treaded water financially. I was moderately successful.
Did you have money saved leading into that transition?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you give a number or disclose what that was like?
Meaning how much money did I have in the bank?
Correct.
I mean, several $100,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was enough to keep you going for at least a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And I made and I'm happy to jump right into that. I love this, by the way. Great question. People dance around money. I'm like, what do you why? So I made high six figures for the better part of 20 years in my career, and which is a great living, right? By pretty much anyone's standards. And but never went and took 50 grand and bought an investment property. Never went, I put money in the bank. But so kids' college stuff is pretty good. I got some investments. I got this, I got that. There's some passive income, not a ton, not anything that I can live on. And so I had plenty of money to transition, But now, I realized well, why not have it all? Why not? Why not have the body that I want, have the marriage that I want, have habits, the connection, the relationship with my kids, and make more money than I've ever made in my life, and impact people.
So it kind of changed, maybe a more of a self-absorbed focus of success. I need to go this route and push this hard and kind of isolate myself in hopes that there's a giant return in financial, or a giant financial return. And then it sounds like you kind of transitioned into more of acts of service and pouring into other people and catering to their needs as much as your needs versus, were you in a selfish phase at that point when you're on Wall Street?
Yeah, everybody is.
Yeah.
I think you have to be, successful. It's a walk into a room, throw, a slab of meat on the ground kind of environment and see who eats, and so obviously there's teamwork involved. You're working in a team environment. It's very similar to, sports in terms of feeling like you're in a locker room. Certainly the culture, the ball busting, the camaraderie, the shit talking, all of it. I miss that. I miss that the most. Okay. But in terms of walking in every day and having a primary goal, it was check every feeling at the door and go make money for the day type of thing. It's not exactly, just mentioned before we started, I was watching Wolf of Wall Street. My wife watches those movies with me and she's like, is that what you used to do? I'm like, God, no, I wish.
If only.
No cocaine lunches, unfortunately. But it wasn't like that, but it was high pressure. It was high stress. It was, what have you done for me lately type of thing. And
was that fulfilling though?
No, of course not. Well,
what was the fulfilling part of it that made you keep going?
The fulfilling part was me thinking that as a man, I was a provider. And so from that framework, yes, it was fulfilling. So that's why I said no. And then I caught myself, because for 15 years of my life, I thought that was my role.
Yeah.
And I thought that meant that I was doing what I was supposed to do. Therefore, all of the other things were secondary, right? What was going on at my house, I wasn't unconcerned with it, but it wasn't my primary role, right? The 2 p.m., play that takes 30 minutes at the elementary school, that wasn't my primary role. Now, I'm not saying that you're a bad father or mother if you can't make that, because we have to work. Right. And so sometimes I can't get out of Manhattan to get to the burbs in New Jersey to go see a 2 p.m. show that ends at 2:30. Your day's blown up, but that was not even a consideration of mine. It was I'll be here on the weekends when I'm not playing golf. I'll be here at night when I'm not checked out because I'm stressed out, or checking my email because there's still stuff going on. And so my perception of what fulfillment is now is totally different. So it's a hybrid answer to your question. Yeah, I was 100%. If you would have asked me 10 years ago at 35, right before a lot of this stuff started to, show up in my life in my mid to late 30s, I would have been like, yeah, bro, well, look at my house. It's
Right.
4,000 plus square feet. I got
That
2
negates
cars.
the negative anything.
Yeah, like what are you talking about? Like
Association.
I was this alpha male, Jersey, bro, athlete, Wall Street, D-bag as you could get. Like not in a, you can go F yourself way, but just like you couldn't tell me anything. My wife was asking me to go to, therapy to talk to, someone, a professional about talking to young guys here, so you're probably like, what are you talking about? So like for years. And I'm like, well, what could a person who doesn't know us do for us? Right. Most specifically for me, right? Like, no, you don't know me,
right.
So a lot of that's changed.
I think that's where I'm curious about is like, how are those conversations with your wife? Because for me, like I just recently got married. So like, I'm curious to see how all that success with Wall Street, how did those conversations, like, I guess, change your pattern in life?
Well, they changed because they had to, because she finally had enough of me, doing what I wanted to do. I was numb to, a lot of things she was asking. And really, to be frank, she wasn't asking for much. She was asking for her to be a part of my life, a consideration in my life. Like I held my job, my golf buddies, my high school. I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, like my high school buddies, my athlete buddies. And so like she was really just asking for me to be, a part of her life. And so, I had 2 different lives. I had, my life with those people, and then I had my life with her. And I hid a lot of it. And I'm not saying she would have been like, go drink on Tuesday. She saw me drinking, but like, go do drugs when you need to. Like, gamble all the time. She certainly would not have been okay with that. But my wife is pretty cool. And if I came to her and said, I gamble a little bit because I enjoy it. She's like, okay, like, what does that mean financially for us? It would have been like a pretty rational conversation. Then I would have told her how much I was gambling. She would have been like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But is there a level that does feed your scratch the itch or whatever? So like I just like assumed that what I was doing was not going to be acceptable to her. And really it wasn't, but at the intensity it wasn't. Just having more open conversation. Like I was talking to Travis downstairs about somebody, a guy who, like, what didn't he like about his marriage? And he couldn't tell his wife that he wanted to have more sex. And it's like, why? It's like, this is the woman you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Yeah. Why couldn't you be more open? Like you're newly married. So this concept of like the honeymoon phase, I think is complete bullshit.
So like the avoidance of important conversations. It's like those have to be had to keep the ship running.
I mean, if you want to be extremely connected to somebody, you have to have important and oftentimes hard conversations, right? I mean, you guys have clients that you work with, like you see someone coming in, not transforming on a daily basis, but they're putting in work at the gym. You know what's going on,
right?
They're going home and they're eating or drinking or not getting their steps in or not sleeping and it's like, at some point, are you doing them a disservice by just being like, cheering them on through their set, through their workout? And not having a hard conversation about like, you're never going to get where you want to go if you keep eating and drinking like an asshole.
Right.
Can I curse on this podcast?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
go for it.
Should ask that before we hit record. It's like having a hard conversation with someone, I think, is a very important part of life. Whether it be a friend, whether it be a client, whether it be a spouse, whether it be, I got kids now. Like my son is, 13 going on 14 and he's a great athlete. And, all kids are like, I want to play in the NBA. I want to be a major league pitcher. I'm 6'6", right? He's a mini me. He's 6 foot. He's 6 foot already. He's 13 years old. He's going into 8th grade. He's a left-handed pitcher, boys. Left-handed pitcher.
It stands out.
Ka-ching,
Please God.
Ring the register. Ka-ching. Now I say that jokingly because I understand. I played Division II basketball and then could have played professionally in Europe. I have an idea of what it takes to be a high-level athlete. I'm sure you guys do too. So I know that that's like, you don't just show up at a baseball field 6'6" with a left hand, with a left arm and go, I'm ready for my huge contract. So I'm like, I'm trying because like every kid's going to say, I want to do this, I want to do that. And so now I'm like, he's also 13. So I'm not trying to like turn this into, a boot camp for him on a daily basis. But I want him to understand that there's work that's required. There's a ceiling that he has that's above everybody else's, but he's only going to reach that if he works at it.
Where did that work ethic for you and aspirations for you come from? Was that self-taught or did you have a mentor? Did you have somebody that you followed along in sports that kind of gave you that idea that that's what it took?
Yeah, great question. I'm 6'6", but otherwise I'm a pretty marginal athlete. So,
So you had to work for it.
Yeah, it came out of me realizing that I wanted to be, successful. I would also, I'm careful with my language now because I'm learning a lot of new things. And so like what you think, what you speak has tremendous power.
Mhm.
So I'll say this as far as like I thought about this I used to think this way. I was just average intelligence. And so I told myself during my 20-year career, I'm so lucky to be making this type of money because my dad's an electrician. My mom runs payroll at a home health aid, agency, secretary basically, runs an office, right? Blue collar. I grew up in a small 2-family home. My grandfather lived upstairs. My dad grew up in the home that I grew up in. Like really, really blue collar. I was really fortunate that they, were successful enough to send me to a Catholic high school for sports. And, I got a scholarship to college, so I didn't have to pay for college. My sister went to a state school in New Jersey. So like, we didn't come from money. And so I talked myself into this like concept that I wasn't as good as the guys that I was working with that were making 3, 4, 5 times as much money as me. Because I had EQ, I was great with people, but like I wasn't in my head as smart as they were on paper. And the guys who made a ton of money had both. And then there were guys who were just book smart where I was like, dude, you're gonna lose money every time because you can't read the room. And so, I told myself a lot of this stuff. Now I can't even forget what the hell you just asked me. But
Yeah, well, it's just where did your aspirations come from?
oh yeah,
Like,
sorry.
Yeah.
So just like I had
And work
I was
ethic.
blue collar.
Yep,
Work.
right.
Like I had to work. In order to get what you want, you have to work. And now that's absolutely true. But
Did you see a return initially? Like, man, the more work I'm putting in, the better I'm getting at basketball, or the better I'm getting at this. Yeah,
absolutely.
and that just reinforces.
Yeah, I'm a worker bee,
doing that,
man.
yeah.
Like I enjoy, waking up and having you tell me like, Brian, these are the 10 things you need to do today. I love lists. I'll even.
Do you have like a calendar?
I have processes in my life,
Okay.
where I have like daily
Do you have
commitments. that I
daily
make.
routines as well?
I have some routines.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have some foundational parts of my life that I know create success. But like I love the feeling of accomplishing something so much that if I have my list and I do something that's not on my list, I like literally go write it down on the list just so I can cross it off. The fucking thing's done already. What the hell are you putting it on the list?
Yeah.
But I like that feeling. I like
Yeah.
the feeling of like just cross.
So what
cross
is it?
off.
What does a day look like then? So like, give us a glimpse into like a busy day in your life right now.
Yeah.
Before we get into the business structure, it'd be interesting to see like, you come from blue collar. You had the Wall Street where you had to work your way up. Basketball, same thing. So what does life look like now?
Yeah, I'm up early. So it's not something that I've been able to quit. So we started in my old career, we started early. I was on the desk by 6:45 a.m. It was about an hour commute-ish, door to door, like 50 minutes in the morning. So I meant I had to be in the car at 6 o'clock. And so that meant if I wanted to get some fitness in, now I'm not talking my entire career because I was not getting fitness in for a long period of it. But when I started to make some changes, and now, call it 10 plus years ago, I realized that I only could work out in the morning. I was texting a buddy of mine that I played basketball with in high school, and I texted him at like 11 p.m. And I was driving to work the next day, and he texted me back. I saw that he texted me back at like 5:15. And I was like, bro, what are you doing up so early? He's like, I'm working out. I'm like, you work out that early? He's like, yeah, when the hell else do you think I'm going to work out? It's the only time I can get it in. And it was like a light bulb went off in my head. And I was like, well, shit. I just had our second kid, maybe even we just had my son at the time. And like I was trying to go to the gym, soft language, trying to go to the gym at like 8 p.m. when I got home. And it just wasn't happening. And so I shifted my workout to first thing in the morning, and it transformed my life. And so I can't quit that now because I had to do it then. So work started at 6:30, 6:45, worked till 5 or 6 o'clock. If I didn't have a dinner out, I'd come home and I was husband and dad. I can't quit it, even though I would argue as an entrepreneur now, building my business in an early stage of my business, I'm probably supposed to wake up and do my most important thing, which is work on my business. But it's the domino that knocks down other dominoes for me throughout the day. And I've tried to do it. And I do work out other times if there is something that I need to get done, or if not often, as I mentioned downstairs, I just don't enjoy training that hard sometimes. But if I know I need to train hard in a particular day, 5 a.m. is not the best time to do it for a 45-year-old guy, right? So getting to your question, still wake up early. I wake up sometime between 4 and 5, usually around 4:30. I hydrate. I get about 15 minutes of work done. So it's like I have one task just because I feel like I check a box. I call it 5 W's. Wake up early, drink water, get a little work done, get a workout in. Go to the gym usually between 5 and 6, 5:15, 6:15. If I don't have an early call at 6:30, or even sometimes if I do, I get home and I take a walk. I take the dog out. So those are my 5 W's. And by 7 o'clock, when it's time to then be dad for an hour and a half, get the kids ready for school. Summertime's a little bit different schedule. I feel like at least if the rest of the day goes to shit, I've gotten some movement in, I've hydrated, I've gotten a little bit of work done, and I've gotten some training in for the day. So that's my typical morning routine.
Love that.
Yeah.
Cool. So what was going back to when you transitioned into this success lift, you talk about the character change, like your wife comes to you as like, hey, this isn't working out. But I've heard on another podcast, was it a slow transition where you still in Wall Street, you start getting into the fitness stuff, people start noticing, you start helping them out a little bit, then you start charging them, and then you jump full ship.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate description. So I'm realizing this now too, as I'm launching a couple of new aspects of my business to work specifically with companies, because that's where I feel like I have this massive expertise of sitting in a corporate culture for 20 years and now being this health and fitness guy. I have really just been in maintenance mode for the last 5 years. And so the first 3 years of my transformation, I was sitting on a trading floor. I was trading bonds. I was still out a couple nights a week. And so I made some immediate changes. I attacked my body right away when my wife was like, I don't know about this. Because in my head, I was in much better shape when we met. And what I realize now with working with people, and maybe you guys have experienced this too, where you have somebody come in and they're 230 pounds and they should probably be 175, 180, right? But in their head, they're like, I just got to get down to 190, 195, 185, whatever. They just keep talking about a number.
Right.
And so you dig a little bit. Well, why? And what's important about 190, And it's like, well, I just feel better then, my clothes look better. I feel better. Ultimately, if you ask why enough, if you dig enough, it's going to have some sort of significance. A lot of times for a lot of the people I work with, it's like, well, it's when I met my wife. And that's when we were the most connected, honeymoon phase. Mm-hmm. Until you start working with people like me, then it's always a honeymoon phase. And so like, they're after the connection. They're after the feeling that they had. They're after the relationship. So what I didn't know was when my wife was like, I don't know, I was like, well, I got to get into shape because I got to make her love me more, which was stupid. Now my wife loves the way I look now. She's much happier with me. Mm-hmm. Look at the way I do now than I did 8 years ago. But that's not what she was asking for. She was asking for me to show up like the man that she knew that I could. And so I attacked my physicality right away. And what I realized, as you guys know, is that you have to make and keep certain commitments to yourself to get in shape. And those things bleed into other areas of your life. And so, fitness for me was the gateway drug to personal development and to being a more responsible person and to keeping commitments. And in order to get into shape, I had to get up at 4:30 because there was no other time.
Right.
And so if I went to bed at 11, I wasn't getting up at 4:30. So then I had to go to bed earlier. And if I was going to bed earlier, I probably wasn't drinking as much. And there was this cascading effect downstream that it had just by me saying, I'm going to show this woman that she shouldn't divorce me because I'm going to go look good. So I stumbled upon that. I didn't consciously do that math. And so I attacked my physicality. I got in great shape. I got in the best shape, similar. I got more muscle now, but I lost 20 pounds. And again, at 235 pounds, I lost more than that. I lost 25. At 235 pounds, 6'6", I was telling myself this story you're good. Mm-hmm. Everyone else has put on 50 since college. You haven't, but I completely changed body comp. I didn't gain weight, but I was a doughboy, And so now I probably was a little too skinny at 209, 207, 6'6". Now I'm about 225 now. But I realized like that to me was the start of this mentality shift. So what happened was when I started to keep those commitments to myself, I started to keep commitments to my wife. And when I said that I had drinks with a client and it's going to be 2 drinks and I'll be home at 8 o'clock, I came home at 8 o'clock. I didn't come home at 9:30 or 10 because we decided to get a quick dinner. When I told her I'd be home at 12:30 from golf on Saturday, I got home at 12:30 and not 2 because I didn't calculate us having lunch afterwards. And
Were you making commitments before and not following through with them, or did you just start making the commitments?
every single day.
Yeah.
I do what we all do.
Yeah.
I was a liar.
Right.
Like, and I'm not talking about like cheating on my wife liar.
Right.
I'm talking about the little things that we say we're going to do on a daily basis. And like, if that is the number one hack to massively improving your life, it's keeping the commitments that you make. Like, do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do them. There is no greater drug that you can take in terms of feeling more confident and starting to impact and move the ball forward down the proverbial field of your life. And so I just started to show up when I said I was going to show up. I started to treat her with more respect. I started to come home when I said I was going to come home. And it had this like cascading effect in my life of like, wow, I'm much more confident. Look at what I've now accomplished. Look, what else can I do? It opened up this door for me.
Would you say that's like the foundation of your coaching business, is starting with getting your fitness in check, keeping the promises you make to yourself consistently? Would you say those are probably most integral to getting people started on the right track?
It's definitely a big part. The foundational part of any program that I work with either individuals or companies is defining what you want. And then the second piece of that is like why you want it and giving yourself permission to really have it. And so this is a great transition to like the theme of this podcast. You don't have to want a 6-pack. You don't have to want to, we were talking about me putting on 10 pounds of muscle in a muscle building phase. I'm 6'6", 225 pounds in this program that I'm in. I went through this little cut for this photo shoot. And then the guys were like, well, you look phenomenal at 235, 240 jacked. I'm like, yeah, I would. Of course I would. Who wouldn't?
Bought in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I think you have an idea what it takes for a 45-year-old man who's been lifting for a long time to put on 10 pounds, 15 pounds of muscle.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of work. And like, I know most people probably are listening to this going, go fuck yourself, dude. You got to eat 4,000 plus calories and train. It's hard, man. It's hard.
Work.
Especially when you're in this phase that I've been in for the last 5 years of this maintenance phase. I'm enjoying my life. I drink alcohol. I eat ice cream. I train my ass off. I'm committed, but like, I don't have to work that hard to do it. Once you do it, the maintenance is not that hard. That's what people need to understand. If you put the work in, it takes a lot to really lose it. And so I'm not sure I desire that much. And what have I found? I found resistance. And so I need to truly understand and get in touch with like what it is I actually want. So now I would argue for any person, you should be fit, healthy, capable of doing whatever it is you want to do. Play with your kids, go on that long hike, play that sport that you maybe used to love to play safely. That's the cornerstone. Once you define that, you have a North Star. You have a lighthouse to be able to point your ship in the direction. Because what happens is people, I talked about this a lot, like this Waze concept, right? We get into the car, Waze knows where we are, but we got to put in a destination to get there, right? And then we have the turn-by-turn directions. Those are our daily actions, our weekly actions. But without knowing a defined destination, the Waze can't help you. So you can have multiple defined destinations because you have multiple goals, but it has to be defined. Like I have to know how I want to look, what I'm capable of doing. I can then work backwards and set up a training program.
No doubt.
Right? I'm going to do this. This is a 9-month goal. Okay, cool. So by month 6, I want to be here. Okay, what does that require? By month 3, I got to be here. All right, that means by month 1, I'm doing these things. All the way down to daily, hourly habits. I mean, you can break this down as much as you want. I'm a numbers guy.
For sure.
So I like to whiteboard this stuff out. I like to Google spreadsheet this stuff out.
Dang, that sounds like me. Because like You went to an all-guy school. I went to an all-guy school. I love spreadsheets. I mean, they see my spreadsheets all the
I
time.
think it's the all guy school thing.
I'm pretty
it
sure it's more of a
is.
Wall Street thing for me, bro. But the drinking 57 beers with with your buddies and putting your head through a wall is more of an all guys kind of school for me. But
Was there somebody that stood out that you feel like you helped that made you think that, hey, this is kind of something I want to do for a living? Or did you just think, I can help people, I'm going to help people?
another really good question. I helped the people around me that noticed my transformation. So that was the evolution for me. The evolution was, I'm going to make this decision to change the culture that I was in and the nature of the ball busting relationship that I had with a lot of my friends and coworkers, because my coworkers were really just an extension of like my Catholic high school buddies and my college, teammates and stuff. Was like, what are you doing, bro? Like, why are you different? You're not, what do you mean you're not getting pizza? You're going to get a salad? Like, what's wrong with you? You're not going to happy hour before the dinner. You're going to go like get a walk-in or go to the gym. Like, who do you think you are? And so I sustained that assault in air quotes from them and got through it and made a lot of changes. And from there, people took notice. And then so I went from being sort of quietly or just poking fun at me. No one really cared. I thought they cared. No one really cared. People making fun of me for having bands under my desk and doing band pull-aparts like at the office, or standing up and doing a few lunges in between the day, or taking a walk, around the trading floor. It's just somebody kind of quietly coming up to me and going, hey man, I saw you doing those band pull-apart things. Like, what's that deal? Like my back is killing me all the time. I'm like, yeah, this helps my sort of upper back, And so I started to help people quietly. And I realized that, people took notice, and I went from, being someone that was different to then being an influencer, right? In my micro community, we're all influencers. And I joined this program that with a fitness guy named Jay Ferrugia, who's now a really close friend of mine, is mastermind for the entire year. Like, this is where I started to realize 2018, I was a couple years into my transformation. And I was like, what else is out there for me? Like, I don't know about this Wall Street thing. Like, it pays really good, but there's something about it. I'm not sure I want to do this for the rest of my life. And here's this, fitness guy from New Jersey that likes hip hop, likes the Yankees and the Giants, like just connected with him. And so I joined his program, and he asked me like, what would you do if you had to do something different professionally? I'm like, well, I've really enjoyed helping people. He's like, well, you should ask 10 people to see if they'd be willing to coach, have you coach them. And don't charge them that much, but charge them something. All right, cool. Great idea, bro. Awesome. This was a one-on-one call. Like a week later, we're in our group call, and he's going down the line looking for updates. Like, Brian, what's up with the coaching? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, what's going on with your side hustle? I'm like, you're serious about that? He's like, yeah. He's like, we'll talk next week. And so I realized he wasn't going to stop. And so that night, I reached out to 10 people. All were relatively friendly. All were guys that I had helped or knew were paying attention to me. And I thought, because of the ball busting nature of my relationship with everybody, that I was going to get laughed at. They're going to be like, what are you doing, dude? You're a bond trader. What's wrong with you? 7 said yes. And that was the birth of I charged them $300 a month. I was like, yo, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but I know what to do.
What did that relationship look like with those 7 people? Or like, how did you kind of find the way to formulate what is now your current business? And like, did it take some tinkering? Were you doing like weekly calls? Were you just checking in consistently? Was there a method behind your madness?
Yeah, so I took how I was living my life and I created a program out of it.
Okay.
And so it was all over the place at first, but it was like, you're going to track your steps. You're going to track your water. You're going to track your sleep. You're going to get on MyFitnessPal. You're going to track your food. We're going to set up whether or not you're going to, do strength training workouts. Because again, remember, these are like, guys that weren't even lifting at the time. So I wasn't going to jam, 4 strength training sessions down people's throats. I really met them where they're at.
Yeah.
And, that's a foundational part of, my coaching now, especially in the corporate setting. Individually, one-on-one, I'm a little bit more structured. Like, hey, you can do whatever you want, but this is what's going to create results.
Right.
You're going to get 10,000 steps a day in. You're going to drink a lot of water. We're going to eat real food. You're going to hit your protein goal. If you need to be in a deficit, you're going to be in a deficit, and you're going to lift 2 to 4 days a week, depending on what your goals are. I'm, you can do whatever you want, but I'm telling you, if you want success in a few other things, this is the 7 ways to guarantee your success, right? And we put that on repeat, and we tweak, and we audit, and we adjust, and we act. 3 A's that I have.
Do they track any of that data? Are they
now?
checking?
Everyone tracks it. Yeah. So going back to your question is, yes, it was like, let me figure out the best way to track all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was like very piecemeal. Now it's actually not that different now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
We track on a Google sheet. We, for friends on MyFitnessPal, we have a check-in process. I didn't have a check-in form, a check-in process. Yeah. I didn't have some of the weekly connection points that I have with people now. But it was like, I took the way I live my life because again, like I transformed my life. I'm realizing this is a big selling point to this new program that I'm launching. I didn't take my goldfish like Jerry Maguire and say, who's coming with me, and leave the office at this low point of my life from a health, marriage, relationship, mindset, addiction perspective with all the money in the bank and go get focus on my health. I did it all while I was sitting in the environment that my ideal customer is in right now. I work 10 to 12 hours a day. I was out 2+ nights a week. I was on, not a ton, but I was on business trips. I was dad at night. I was dad coach on the weekends. I was living the life that everyone that I'm working with right now is living. And so you can't tell me it's not possible.
Did those new acts of discipline and commitment affect you financially with a return on Wall Street? Or was it similar to what you were doing before when you were still coping, being a functional drug addict and disconnected from your wife?
Yeah, I made more money.
Yeah. So there was a translation.
Yeah. And most people, again, story I tell myself is, well, I can't do these things because it's going to cost me financially. It's going to cost me my professional success. I can't take time away from my career because I have to devote it to this thing that I think is my calling, my job, that defines me from a success and fulfillment standpoint. And nothing could be further from the truth. We all have more time. I mean, most people are busy, but come on, man. I found hours in my day where I felt like I would just say I'm busy. I'm really not. I could go to bed earlier. I could wake up earlier. I could create an hour. I created 90 minutes of my day just by going to bed earlier and waking up at 4:30 and going to the gym. And then, yes, I'm busy all day, but I have these pockets of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I could, maybe I can't leave the desk because I have to be within earshot of someone who's got something going on that I need to work on, but I can pace up and down the row. I can walk laps around, the floor. I worked on these big trading floors. Like I can walk laps. I can make a better food choice for lunch. I can bring healthy snacks in if there's garbage at the office. Like there's so many things within our control. Yeah. Like I sent a group of 8 executives that I'm working with at a really big financial institution, and they're all in one place right now in Arizona. And I know some of them are dominating their protocols and others are using it as an excuse to get completely off track. And so like I sent them, fellas, I literally packed 2 turkey and ham sandwiches, one for the plane last night. And I'm that guy that put it in the hotel fridge this morning and it's sitting in my backpack right now for the plane ride home, and I have protein powder in there and I have beef sticks in there and I have, everything that's going to keep me on track because I value my health. I value how I feel. I value how I look. It's part of my North Star. It's part of my self-image. So I'm going to filter decisions through that lens. And so it doesn't matter where I am. Now that it's part of my identity, you can pick me up and put me in Boise, Idaho, and I will still execute. Is it going to be ideal? No, I didn't go to the gym today. Fortunately, Wednesday is usually my day off. I go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But I walked this morning and I got push-ups and split squats in my hotel room because there was like 25-pound dumbbells in the hotel gym and a treadmill.
There's always a way.
It's always a way. There's always a way. So is it ideal? Is it perfect? Never. When is life ever perfect? And why aren't we planning? It's a big thing of mine. Like, you guys have jobs, right? And maybe not you guys. Well, in other areas of life, let me ask you, when was the last time you fell off a commitment, didn't keep a commitment to yourself in an area of your life? It's probably not fitness related, I'm guessing.
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
I think it probably comes more in line with nutrition and the habit side of things. So
Okay.
like you, I like to, when I wake up and start the day a certain way, it has a trickle effect and it spirals and has momentum for the remainder of the day.
Yeah.
So I'm at my best when I'm meditating, journaling, walking, potentially exercising, and then setting the tone for the day.
Yeah.
I fall off that routine.
Yeah.
I can still function highly, but it's not the same. I don't have the same momentum. So it's when I don't take care of those commitments and habits
Yeah.
that I know
So like
that
Chris,
serve me.
yeah, when was the last time you broke a promise to yourself, didn't keep a commitment?
I mean, I said I was going to go for a run yesterday with my wife. That didn't happen.
Okay, it didn't happen. What about you?
Oh, probably 2 days ago, I said I was going to wake up and do like 2 hours of programming.
Okay. And when did this happen that you were just talking about?
I mean, it's sporadic. There's times where I'm rolling for 3 months, but I'd say
So would you
last
say
week even.
in the last week? Okay,
Yeah.
so all of you within the last week
Yeah.
broke a promise to
Oh,
yourself.
for sure.
Yeah.
Did anybody not show up to work in the last week?
I mean, I was sick, but
Yeah.
Outside of that, did you just
No.
go like, fuck it, I'm not going to
absolutely not. No,
Right.
No.
never.
Yeah. And so like, why are we professionals
Yeah.
inside of our careers? Right? You go to work, you deal with it. You know,
There's no more decision. It's like you
go.
just show up. You do the
You've
thing.
decided, you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like clockwork. You just
A
keep going,
similar, a similar fire comes up in another area of our life. And we're
Mhm.
like, fuck it, I can't do it.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
That's good.
Like, why aren't we professionals? So this hits home, it should hit home for everyone.
Mhm.
But like for people who are like, dude, I got 2 hours of sleep because my kid was puking last night. I was out for a client dinner and I was up at 5:30 in the office grinding.
Yeah.
Awesome. Why did you get a cheesesteak for lunch when you said that you were going to get a big ass salad?
Right.
Well, yeah. Well, you showed up to work. What are you doing? So it's like, why are we so committed in one area of our life and unwilling to let the Mike Tyson, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face mentality, yet in other areas of our life, like I do this, my wife and I think it's the universe now screwing with me. My wife and I committed, a year plus ago to a Thursday night date night every week. Now, for a husband and wife with 2 young kids who have crazy schedules, who also are both running their own businesses, I will be the first to say that maybe a weekly date night is not the right commitment, right? Maybe you should walk before you hit CrossFit 7 days a week if you're sitting on the couch mostly, right? But now this thing's on our calendar and we've just become numb to it. Sometimes we go out on Thursday nights, but we don't always.
Mhm.
So it's like, why am I willing to break that commitment, but I won't not show up for a call with a client?
It comes back to defining the why again. It's always like,
Yeah.
how often do you actually check in with yourself and reevaluate your whys? So I think the reason that I didn't do those tasks is because I haven't reevaluated my position or what I personally want.
You just touched upon another foundational component of how I coach, because it's primarily, I work with a lot of financial professionals because I was one.
Mhm.
The concept of auditing is very familiar
Yeah.
in that world. We audit as organizations. I mean, we all file taxes for the most part every year, I hope. We have do you have team meetings downstairs?
Mhm.
Yeah.
How frequent are they?
Once a month.
Once a month. Okay, cool. So that's pretty good. So companies might, public companies file, or report earnings on a quarterly basis. I used to trade the bonds of companies that were in bankruptcy. And when you file for bankruptcy, you have to file a monthly operating report with your creditors. So these companies have to file monthly, right? Sales teams sometimes have weekly meetings, Monday morning meetings. I was part of a morning meeting every single day where we got together in a conference room and talked about ideas, strategy. How are we going to make money today? What are we working on? We do these things as business people, as professionals. Why don't we audit in our personal life?
Mhm.
Why don't we have a process to, at the end of either the week, the month, the day is key, which is what we do. I call it the pillow test. It's like, why don't we, what worked today? Did I keep all my commitments? Why didn't I? If I didn't, what came up? Is it the plan? Is it you? Or is it something in between? So every once in a while, something's going to come up. You're going to get sick.
Mhm.
Maybe you didn't keep your training because maybe that was the right move to call an audible. And so if you're not doing that as an individual, you're leaving a massive amount of progress on the table for yourself. And people don't. We do it around these milestones, New Year's, maybe a birthday, an anniversary. A lot of times I have guys do it during vacations. Like there's a thing on Wall Street called the 2-weeker. If you work for a big bank, sometimes you have to take mandatory 2 weeks off. It's like old school. Like they'd figure out if you were stuffing trade tickets in the drawer, like if you were committing fraud. Like, so if you had 2 weeks off, from not being there, they could kind of tell patterns of behavior. And now it's just become this cultural thing. But if you're taking a 2-week vacation or whatever, like you reflect. And sometimes you're like, okay, I want to do things differently. You audit. And like, imagine if you increase the frequency of that. Like, how did I do as a husband today? Did I talk to my wife? Did I connect with my wife? Maybe it wasn't, we didn't get that run in, but we sat because we didn't have time for 30 minutes, but we did have 5 minutes. So we just went out back and poured a glass of wine, had a cup of coffee, had water or nothing, whatever, and just talked and checked in. Did I spend uninterrupted, undistracted time with my kids today? Because they don't need that much time. At some point, they're like, cool, Dad, beat it. Like Nickelodeon's on. I'm good. Or I got the iPad. I don't need you. Did I do the things that I said that I was going to do? And if you start that scoreboard, I love scoreboards. I was an athlete. We're athletes. In business, there's a scoreboard. You guys might even have one downstairs in the gym where you track people's progress. People love scoreboards. Mm-hmm. Why don't we keep them in our personal life?
I agree.
Do you know how many dates you've been on in 2023? Do you know how many times you've been to the gym? Do you know, how many times you've logged into MyFitnessPal? Like all these things.
And I think that is like one of the key takeaways is that self-evaluation on a daily basis. I think most people aren't doing that. Like go to relate back to sports, you play a game or you have a practice, you watch game tape and you reflect and you learn what you did well, what you did wrong. People aren't doing that in their own lives. They're not reflecting to the point where, hey, I can improve on this, or I should keep doing this and keep moving this forward.
It's so powerful. I don't think people should dwell on their losses and dwell on their, on their game film, but they really should review it. I think people should have a process where they review everything and cultivate this like highlight film for themselves, mm-hmm. and then focus on that, because I am now learning that there's this, concept of like where your focus goes, energy flows. Mm-hmm. And what we think about, people think about so much negative stuff. I mean, God, man, I was so negative.
Can we talk about that mindset?
Yeah, let's go.
Like, I know you talked about in one of your previous podcasts how people couldn't tell you anything. Like your shit didn't stink. How has that changed? Is it more from arrogance to confidence, and to like, do you understand vulnerability also is important in connection to?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that I don't have all the answers, mm-hmm. and the greatest people from a success standpoint in the world have mentors, have coaches. And for me to think that I have everything figured out when there are people that are doing things at a massively higher level than me in all areas of their life and are getting mentorship it's irresponsible, bottom line, if I want more out of my life, which I do. And so, I think like it's an evolution. Look, people are young, they're dumb, they don't know better. You don't know what you don't know. There are 4 stages of learning. There's unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know you're an idiot. I didn't know that I was doing things to cause harm to my marriage and maybe my body. I was just doing them. Then someone comes along, i.e. my wife or whatever, and goes, you're an idiot. You become consciously incompetent. Then you toggle between consciously incompetent and conscious competence. You are trying to do the right thing, but it's hard work. Ultimately, you pack 2 turkey sandwiches for a trip to Boise, Idaho with all of your other supplements. You become unconsciously competent in a thing. But that takes time. Mm-hmm. But once you know, you kind of can't unknow anymore. And so then it's like you have to make a decision. What do you want? So again, I keep filtering back.
It's the switch from conscious to subconscious.
Yeah. So it's understanding like, I desire these things. I want these things. Is what I'm doing getting me closer to them or not? And it's like to get really unemotional and black and white about that is really liberating, because it's a pretty clear answer most of the time. And I have results in my personal life because of the work that I've been doing for the last 8 years. I have money in the bank because of the work that I did for 20 plus years. I have tread water financially, not anymore, but for a couple years, from 2019 to 2021 because I valued other things and I didn't put the work in that I needed to grow the business to what I wanted it to be. And so your results are a function of the things you've been doing for however period of time in the past, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be months or years, usually not days or weeks. You're not going to see like crazy results in days or weeks.
On the results, so going back to where we were before, what was that? You said you were training 7 guys in the beginning at 300 a piece or somewhere around there, $2,100. Obviously, that's just side cash. What was the number when you jumped ship? Like, how much were you making per month from it? And then adding to that question, just to get us into kind of the business analytics of where you're at now, how much income do you, what is your business currently doing? And then how much of that are you receiving? And then correlate that with how your life looks differently from where it did, which we've already talked about a lot.
Yeah. So it was probably like $3,000 a month that I was, I didn't really change. I was working with like 10 guys or so. Yeah, it was definitely more than that. It's a good question. $3,000-4,000 a month, something like that when I changed.
And which you were just like, fuck it.
Fuck it. Yeah. I like to say, so a sequence of events happened when we moved. We went to go buy a home in the town that we lived in New Jersey. And Tracy Morgan, the comedian Tracy Morgan. Yeah. So he had he got this like big settlement from Walmart, and because he got into an accident or something.
Yeah.
And so he moved homes, and his old home was it was nice, but it needed some work. But it was on this like an acre or two, not like an acre, which in New Jersey is a lot. But it backed up to this like 6 acres of like nature conservancy. You couldn't touch it. My wife loves nature. She wants to like live in Montana at some point. And try to get her to move here now that I've been here. And so we were supposed to go buy this house. It was supposed to be super easy because he already moved. He didn't care. Anyway, long story short, we put our home on the market, got an offer really quick, went to go buy it. It was a complete shit show. It fell apart and it like upset my wife, pissed her off because she put all this work into like getting our house ready. And that was the catalyst because we had always talked about moving back to California. My wife lived in California when we met. And so that was the like fall of 2018. And we decided, screw it, we're going to move. And changing my careers, keeping my career from New York to LA was possible, but it was a little harder. And I inquired with the company that I was working for because we have a lot of remote employees, and they were like, yeah, not for your position. For salespeople, but not for traders. Shit, okay. So I could have got another job. I could have transitioned to a salesperson. And ultimately, like, I had been looking for an out. I knew that I had this kind of runway. And so I kind of like to say, like, the window was cracked open and I dove straight through the glass. So in an ideal world, I would have, kept my main thing for another year or two and continued to grow this business that I'm building now. So I did something financially irresponsible, but I also had a nest egg to be able to soften that blow for me. And so I wouldn't recommend that people do what I did in terms of like, if you're living on 10 to 20 grand of expenses a month and you have $5+ grand coming in, that ain't a good trade, boys. Right. That ain't a good trade in my old world. And so, so systematically, if you can reduce some of your expenses while growing your side hustle, while doing the thing that you are currently doing, that's a great, plan. The business now, a couple $100,000 a year. As a solopreneur, I got nobody else.
How many clients does that involve?
So, anywhere between 20 and 25 for the last 2 years for me. I'm just about to start working with two companies, which I'll be able to then scale the business pretty quickly, depending on how many people I can hire and at what pace, because I'm taking my knowledge and I'm going to stop trading time for dollars. And I'm going to turn it more into, I have a program now, but people are paying for my time. And as you guys know, in the training world, like, you only have so much time, and so like, how can you scale that and create more of yourself? And I can do it by taking, as I referenced, like, I got into the best shape of my life and transformed my life doing exactly what these people are doing right now. And so I just turned it into a program, turned it into a system.
Did you have anybody help establish like the website and this business model with you?
Yeah, a lot. I've hired a ton of coaches since
Yeah.
I've been, in my new world in terms of helping me.
Specific to each need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mindset. Business, tech stuff. VAs. Like I've started to branch out and realize like I can't do this all on my own, and so slowly but surely I'm starting to add more pieces.
What do you invest monetarily in those coaches?
In terms of like myself and on a yearly basis,
Monthly.
Shoot, a lot. I realize it's a good. I'd have to think about that to be. Oh my God, I spent $60,000 on a program for the entire year for business.
What was your return on that? What did you think you got out of it?
It's current, so I'll let you know in a
Okay.
little while. So far, it's been phenomenal.
Okay.
I wouldn't have developed the program that I developed without it.
Do you mind disclosing that?
What's that?
Do you mind disclosing what that program is?
It's it's my new corporate wellness program.
Okay.
It's called High Performance Health.
Okay.
I'm starting with two
Awesome.
of my individual clients own their own firms. A lot of my guys own their own firms, but two of them own their own firms. They've now hired me to work with their individual employees. So one is a 25-person company. The other one's like 75, 80 people.
Okay.
And I've worked with some of my individual guys have teams of people, and I've worked with his 6, 8, 10-person teams.
Was there coaches that provided you more than others? And was there certain coaches that you feel like you didn't get much out of? Or has there always been something that you've taken away from working with a coach?
There's always something to take away from somebody. Some have been better than others. I think it's also a function of what you put into it as well.
What is the determining factor of what makes that person a good coach for you?
I think it's what you're looking for specifically. So, like I said, I went to that guy, Jay Ferrugia, who's now a great friend of mine. Jay helped me transform my mindset. Jay pushed me outside of my comfort zone. Jay helped me with my communication skills. Jay helped me with my confidence level. Jay hasn't been the right guy to help me build my business. Jay has a tremendously successful business, and he could be beneficial to me, but I've chosen to go, other routes. Other people have been great builders of my business, but I'm way more disciplined than them, from a health perspective. Others have a good combination of both. I think it's finding people that you resonate with. It's important to find people that have done what you're doing or that you desire to do. Who has blazed your trail, right? And so that's why, maybe people come to you to train with you because you're like, well, I want to look like you. Shit, I would like to look like you. You're jack, bro. Guys come to me, professionals come to me because it's like, oh, you've created financial success. You look really good. You're very healthy. You're balanced. You still enjoy a lot of the things that I enjoy. You're a committed parent. You're a committed partner. Like, it is possible.
How did you seek those people out?
I reached out to them and I
through
paid them
through
money,
media
man.
or
Yeah.
through people was it word of mouth?
Personal connections.
Yeah.
Some people I just found via podcast.
Yeah.
Other people I found through individual relationships. I think developing your network is really, really important. I never would have thought I'd have a network of fitness professionals.
Were those people all specific coaches, or did you say, hey, I want to work with you. I want to learn from you. I'm willing to invest in this.
I got into their environment first.
Okay.
Might have went to an event that they put on, might have started to pay attention to their stuff online, consume their content, maybe bought a low priced product of theirs. Yeah. And then I was like, well, maybe I should, consider higher price.
I think that's a huge selling point for you too, because you're doing the exact same thing that you're asking other people to do.
Yeah, I know no other way.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone. So again, my business coach right now is kind of a savage in terms of fitness, but he's more of a runner endurance guy. I got no interest in that. So I'm not, I think he's a tremendous model of how you should live your life from a health perspective, but I'm not with him to change my physique.
Right.
I don't want what he has.
It's different.
He's kind of scrawny. Mm-hmm. Love you, Brian. But he has a specific skill that I want. He's built a coaching business. He's turned his one-on-one services into a multi-million-dollar program that people buy, that he doesn't have to spend as much time in the business one-on-one every single day and week doing. I want that, right? My business should not be $200,000. It should be $2 million, and it should be $2 million very quickly, and it will be. Right. So
there's your North Star. That's where your trajectory is right now.
Yeah.
That's what you're aiming for.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, that's an initial destination.
Okay.
It'll be much bigger than
It's
that.
the beginning.
Yeah. But so going back to your question, I think you have to find people that are doing what you're doing. It's okay that they don't have everything that you want. You don't have to find like the guy, the girl, but you need to find people who have done and are currently doing what you want, because what the hell else would you be paying them for other than their defined expertise? I have built up a body of evidence that is indisputable. You cannot tell me that I'm not somebody that prioritizes their health, their marriage, their relationship with their kids, their personal growth, their mindset, and know how to do it in the atmosphere that you are likely currently sitting in. Can't tell me it's not true. I have built up too much evidence. I don't need affirmations in the mirror to tell myself this stuff. I've done it. And so go find those people. Go find the people that have built the body that you want. Go find the people that you've built, that have built the business you want, the relationships. Now, if that's a combined package, awesome, but it might not be.
When you first started out, you talk about how much you're investing in this stuff now, but when you first started out and you quit Wall Street, you're making, let's say, $5,000 max, and you're like, $10,000 to $20,000 a month. What would your advice be to someone who's just starting out, and how much, I guess, like put a number on it from what you've seen, the evidence you built up. Your business is obviously way bigger than it was now. For someone starting out, how much would you say, hey, like invest this much, like pay a coach X amount?
Yeah.
Because I think that's the hard part for me is it's like, I have this monthly income. I have XYZ goals, whether it's relational or, professional. It's like, do I put everything on the line for this investment because this person has been there and I'm going to keep working? Or it's like, do you kind of strategically go about it?
Yeah, I don't think it's smart to put everything on the line ever, right? I think you need to have a process of, do you have a process of where your money goes when it comes in the door? Step one. And then how much is that money? So if it's hundreds of dollars per month, after everything, after you have your emergency fund, a little bit of your savings, whatever your short-term, intermediate, long-term goals are. And maybe we've already run out of money. So maybe you need to reprioritize, like, okay, I have these goals, but until I increase my skill set, these goals are either not possible or are way into the distance in terms of time frame. But if I can upgrade my skill set, they become much more realistic in a shorter period of time. And so, first of all, I don't think that there's any better return on your investment than investing in yourself.
Is financial literacy involved in your coaching?
Most of my people are financially literate already.
So that's not the problem.
It's not a huge focus.
It's more lifestyle based.
It's lifestyle based. Like, I have an individual client right now that is going to go buy. He's a finance guy. He's going to go buy potentially a dumpster business. He's looking to start to buy different businesses because ultimately he wants that exit ramp that I smashed through the window to create. He wants a more responsible one. And so we talk about the deal. We talk about structuring it. It's a little bit above my pay grade too. So I'm connecting him with a buddy of mine who will know this stuff, left and right. My point is like, to go back to your question, like, I think it's really important that you're always investing in yourself to some degree. Now, if we're really honest with ourselves and that number is still really, really small, first of all, I would say, let's look at what you're spending your money on. But there is so much information out there that's free. I mean, Jesus Christ, just look at like people like us. We have a podcast. We put stuff out on social media. And how many people like us are there?
So many.
Thousands and thousands and thousands. So go get the free stuff of the people that you respect and that you want to model yourself after. I guarantee that you will make a significant amount of progress just consuming, number one, but number two, most importantly, putting those things into action. And if you did that for 3 months, 6 months, you probably would find a little bit more disposable income, which then maybe you could take and apply to investing in yourself. And maybe it's a lower cost program of one of those people, right? I have a $49 to $97 28-day program that you could take. You get an email from me every single morning. It's 3 to 5 minutes, and it's action-based. Okay, like I'm a huge action-based guy. I'm sure you've got that vibe. Like education's cool. It ain't shit without action, right? And it's so easy to consume these days. You can consume an Instagram post, a LinkedIn post, something on YouTube, an email, whatever. And what do most people do with it? Absolutely nothing. And so like you'd be much better served narrowing the people who you are paying attention to on a daily basis and actually doing the things that they're doing. And I think if you did that at the same time, then play the long game, maybe you don't have to buy a home in the next 2 years. Maybe you buy a home in 5 years. And maybe you move in with your parents for a little while, if that's feasible. Maybe you live below your means for a little while. This one of those programs that I'm a part of, it has you design a 90-year plan with goals. I'm 45 years old. What the hell am I doing designing a 90-year plan? I hope that's your first thought, right? You guys are younger than me, but what do you design a 90-year plan for, right? That's your first thought. So there's a few reasons why. Number one is you need to consistently have things that you're thinking about and working towards, but also it's like when we stretch the amount of time that we're perceived to be going after something, it takes a little bit of the pressure off. It's like, so if I know that my goal is to be able to hit a jump shot, have sex with my wife, and take my entire family to like a private island when I'm 100 years old, I think those are goals of mine. Still be getting laid, still be able to hit a jumper, and take my entire family somewhere. Kind of takes the pressure off. That's pretty successful, no?
How do you organize those goals? Do you have like a vision board? Are you using those Excel spreadsheets? Or are you using something else? Do you just know it up here?
So I have a process that I call my elite self-image and my ideal life. And so I script this stuff out. And I've learned this from other coaches. It's now part of my program. And so I have I am statements that I say to myself every day, 2 of the most powerful words you can use in the English language. I am. Speak in the present form that which you want to be in the future. I am savagely fit. I am elite. I am, compassionate. I am empathetic. Whatever it is you want to be.
So a lot of subconscious programming.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. And then it's like, again, it's vision board-esque. I don't have a picture of the private island. I don't have the golf clubs that I want to be a member at. I do have a couple things, like on my phone, I have the vacation property in Hawaii that I want to own. And I have the golf course that I'm going to join in my town as my screensavers. We got to spend time thinking about this stuff. And more importantly, you got to put yourself into that environment, because you've mentioned subconscious mind. Subconscious mind doesn't think in terms of like words. It thinks in feelings, emotions. So like all of the auditory, kinesthetic, meaning like touch, smell, taste. Like golf is a big passion of mine. I can close my eyes and I can recite to you guys like what I see, feel, smell, touch in a round of golf with my 3 buddies. We're walking down the fairway. It's like the fresh cut grass. You can smell the fresh grass. You can hear the lawnmower on another fairway. I maybe have a vodka club soda splash OJ in my hand. I might have a cigar going. We're talking shit. We're laughing. I can hear the birds. There's like the dew on the grass, like from the morning moisture. Like I can put myself into that environment so easily because I've thought about it over and over and over and over again. And we need to do that with our goals.
When did that click for you? Like associating the thought with the feeling and like knowing that they need to go together. You cannot just have the thought. You also need to feel what you're thinking about at the same time.
Yeah, when I joined this program that I referenced, that was pretty damn expensive for the year.
Okay.
So
is that your first?
You don't need to spend that much money to do that.
That was your first entry into that kind of thing?
I mean, yes and no. I had dabbled with it a bit, understanding that, this was powerful stuff. And then I was like, I think there's an energy exchange too. That's why I think people should free stuff. I'm contradicting myself left and right. There's a tremendous amount of stuff you can get for free, but there's definitely an energy exchange when you pay. When you pay attention. And when I have people show up and pay in full and go all in, they get massive results. And when I have people like, ask me if they can chop it up, pay per month, I don't know, like they're just not committed, And so like, I realized it when I got committed and I started to get some results.
So can we go back into the goals then specifically? So I know you set that you should be making 2 to 3 million a year, and that's your initial North Star. What is the long-term goal with your business, and where do you want to get to with it? And what are the steps that you think it's going to take to get there?
Damn, that's a good question that I'm not fully prepared for. Long-term steps for me is to ultimately have a company that transforms the culture of corporate America. And meaning that it's not just about what we can produce financially and produce as professionals inside the office. It's like, can you have it all? Can you be in the body that you want to be in the relationship that you want to be in the mindset that you want to be in? And can you produce at a level that you've never produced because of those things, not in spite of? And so from a dollar amount, I don't know what that dollar amount is, but I know if I solve that, I'm going to be pretty fucking wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I have the tools to solve that. I know I have the connections to solve that. And I'm developing the skills to put it all together. Okay. So the goal for me is to continue to push down this line of, before I have a $2 million business, I got to have a $500,000 business. And then I got to have $1 million business. And then once I have a $2 million business, I'm going to want to have a $10 million business. And then I'm going to want to have a 30 and 100. And at some point, I don't know what it is. Like, here's the thing. I just threw a lot of big numbers around, right? I'm not lacking for money right now, meaning I can pay my bills. Right. We go on vacation. I don't look at a lot of price tags. And so I'm not running away from anything. I'm also not running towards something. Like when we all think about $100 million, right? Be pretty cool, right? But is an initial thought maybe of yours like, well, that's kind of a lot. Maybe if I had said 20, I'd be all right. Mm-hmm. So like, this is where moderately successful, and the theme of this maybe is really important for people to think about. I don't know if I need a hundo. I feel like a 20 would be pretty
defining
good.
Your cutoff, kind of.
Yeah, and it's not like once I get to here, I'll be happy. It's like, what else do you value? And so, I think what would be really attractive to people is like, what would a lifestyle in which you are, worth a particular number be able to provide you? And what can you do with that lifestyle?
I think that's like the growth in line with the money. If we all of a sudden stall financially, all of a sudden we're not growing. And that's not always the case, I don't think. So like maybe that plays a role in things too. We feel like we always have to reach the next number, but that doesn't have to go in line with our personal growth.
Yeah, look, I think you can grow personally and it doesn't have to be linear in terms of its relationship. Like I grew 50% personally this year. First of all, this is a hard way to measure that, right? And my income grew 50%. I do think that there's, a mismatch there, but ultimately I think you can't grow like off the, okay, unless you're Mother Teresa or like the Dalai Lama, like your personal growth is going to be capped at some point by your income and vice versa, in my opinion. And so I think they have to go together.
Because if you're making more money, you're also affecting more lives.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And so, like you'll hear people who are very successful financially say like, you don't care about money until you feel how good it feels to like give it away to causes you care about. How impactful would money be for you if you could, on a whim, move your family wherever they want, pay for your, siblings' education, or set somebody up, or do something that's meaningful for you. And so at that point, I think that's where the drive to, go from 2 million to 10 to 20 to 100, whatever it may be for you. I was standing in line at the airport in security, on the security line yesterday, and I texted my wife. I'm like, pretty soon we're only flying first class. And then pretty soon we're only flying private because I ain't doing this for much longer. And that's not like, you might hear that and go, what are you talking about, bro? But like, I'm honest with myself enough to know that I want that.
New standards.
Yeah, dude, I have standards, and I want to pull up, 30 minutes before my flight and walk through the door and have someone go, "Hello, Mr. Pannuzzo," and hand me maybe a glass of champagne and get on a plane. Like, who doesn't want that? If I just describe that to you, right? Like, Chris, you want that?
I do want that.
Yeah, man. But like we say to ourselves, like, I don't need that. That's a little much. Well, why? Now, if you truly don't want it, if you truly don't want that experience, that's okay. But I think people lie to themselves about what they actually want and don't give themselves the permission to go get it. And that's I've stolen this from a program that I'm a part of now. John Madsen, who's a fitness guy who runs a wildly successful fitness business. And he has a program called Superhuman. And he's partnered with a mental programming course, which is something that I'm a part of. And it's for Supra, it's his number one core value. Give yourself permission to win. And it's like, people don't do it. It's like, why? I didn't give myself permission to earn more money than I ever did on Wall Street when I started this business. You know what happened? I didn't earn more money than I ever earned.
It goes back to that like self-sabotaging programming and self-defeating programming. People don't even know that they're capable until they actually realize it for themselves and tell themselves that they are capable.
If you spend time on a daily basis thinking about the things that you truly want, why you want them, and actually giving yourself permission to go get it, like, things in your life change really, really quickly. And all that stuff's free. It's all free.
I think one question that I do have is, when you reach that certain threshold, say like 20 million, do you see yourself investing in other businesses too? Or do you want to strictly just keep this business?
Yeah, I would imagine I would be investing in other businesses. I mean, I already am. I own a small piece of a nutrition education and business coaching company. And I have some different investments. I think, your net work is your net worth, or net worth is your network, whatever that is. I think, the more you become successful, the more you're going to start to meet new people, network, and opportunities sort of come your way. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you'd be building something that's worth a specific dollar amount and not, ultimately branch out into something else. But I think, for most people, I think you want to keep the main thing for right now. I think, there's no passive income. Everyone listening, like, yeah, you can, buy an Airbnb, but like, nobody talks about the amount of time you have to, filter through all the possible properties for sale, and all the time you spend, negotiating the deal, and all the time you spend maybe it not going through, and then you got to maintain it or hire a property management company. Like, there's no truly passive income. And so I think if people stopped looking for passive income so much as they did just like thinking about working towards a goal that they truly care about and that's fulfilling to them, I think they'd spend their time on much more profitable, endeavors.
So I think we're going to kind of go into a summation of this whole episode. And if you were to define 3 things or tips for upcoming entrepreneurs, whether it's coaching or something else, what would those tips be, takeaways?
So define what you want, I think, is number one. I think in anything, whether it be your business, your marriage, your body, your relationships, what do you want? If that's an absolute shit ton of money, cool. What is it going to take for you to get there? You got to know what you want. Don't build the business that you see other people having. Build the business that you want. The next thing would be develop a plan, from the finish line, from the destination to where you are today. Get unemotional about where you are today. It's really, really hard to do because a lot of people, aren't where they want to be. I mean, shit, I'm not. Anybody else here? No. Where they want to be?
Absolutely
right, cool. So we get a little emotional about that. And we get in this cycle of like guilt, shame, shoulda, woulda, coulda, if I just did this. And we stay stuck in that cycle. And so get unemotional about that. You gotta have your starting point. You gotta have a defined destination. And then, I hate to take this back to the entire Waze analogy, but listen to the damn directions. Now, go right when you're supposed to go right. Go left when you're supposed to go left. If you don't know when to go right, when to go left, get help to do that. We've covered certain ways that you can do that. You can do it free. You can do it for low cost. You could do it for high cost, or a combination of all, like I do. The last point, and I mentioned this, as far as the Waze analogy goes, when you go left, when you're supposed to go right, Waze just simply redirects you. It does not call you an idiot. It does not shit on you. It does not tell you that you should go into this cycle of guilt, shame. I did it again. I fell off my plan. I said I was going to go for a run with my wife. I never go on a run. Ultimately, that lands people on like, well, let me just go back to what I was doing. Waze just redirects you. And if you can get unemotional about having to redirect yourself and get yourself back on track, because even a bunch of fit dudes fall off track, right? But what do? We just get back on it.
I like that. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sweet, man. Well, I appreciate you being here.
Yo, this is fun.
that was awesome. I appreciate
It's
it.
great. I love what you guys are doing, man. Love
Thank
it.
you.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening to the Moderately Successful Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we'll put the Instagram handle and follow us. Where can people find you at, Brian?
Cool. I appreciate you guys, man. I have a podcast called The Success Lift podcast. That's a good spot to check me out. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn because of my network. It's my name, Brian Pannuzzo, but check out the podcast. That works.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.